There we go. All right. All the shifters on the house.
We're going to talk about
All the
the
shit.
day shifts. Yeah, all the shifts. And it's unfiltered. So if you have littles around, just be warned that there could be some bombs dropped. Who knows?
Right. After a
Not
couple
just
of
love
those, you don't
bombs,
feel
because we are
like doing
talking
it.
about Valentine's. What was that, Carrie?
I said after a couple clean cut shows, and you just don't even feel like you're in the mood to drop any F bombs. Crazy. But yes, if you have little ones
I
around,
know, but we've been
um,
saving them up though too. It feels like, oh, gotta let go, let loose.
right after your, maybe
I'm gonna
you're
turn my
just tired
Wi-Fi
from
off
your
so it's
Mexican
not so
fiesta,
glitchy. Probably.
you know,
Yeah. Who knows?
tired.
Just recuperating. Oh, I got the gardener here. My maintenance man's picking up garbage for us. You're live, Kyle. Look at this. This is an example of love. So, wouldn't you say? I didn't even ask. I never have to. Just gets taken care of,
Aw,
right?
yeah,
And that's what we're talking about today too. Is just ways that we show others that we love them and that we care. And yeah, there's an example for you right there.
right there. Yeah, I was thinking about the posting and I was like, what should we discuss today? Because we knew we are going to do Valentine's shifts and there's so many different things. Oh, as my phone goes off. Although I am expecting an Amazon package, so that's not them. But so going into Valentine's Day and all the shifts that come with it. Now, there are so many topics to do with Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
We could talk about first dates, we could talk about getting stood up, we could talk about our favorite Valentine's Day or Valentine's Day gifts. We could talk about, well, I put up on the caption, back in junior or back in elementary school, and you got like all the little classroom little
Hmm.
Valentine's cards and they have like the really cheesy sayings on them. And I was like, oh. So there's a whole wide variety of Valentine stuff. So what's one of your go-to topics for Valentine's Day? What should we start with?
I want to start with the pressure that people feel to celebrate it and why
Right.
why there's like it's actually become I was going to do the research, but it's
Yeah.
like a multi probably billion-dollar business between meals, flowers, chocolates, cards,
Oh,
all the activities and people trying
yeah.
to make sure I feel like the pressure is all on the men too, right? To that this is all
Mhm.
about the men treating the women. If we just want to talk, our basic
The general.
gender,
Yeah.
yeah, in
Yeah.
general. And I feel like that's not necessarily fair, but also I didn't realize until I was an adult that not everybody is excited about Valentine's because, like you mentioned, when you're going to school, your teacher has helped you make some Valentines for your family or your parents, and your
Yeah.
parents have helped you do all the little cheesy cards, and there's going to be a Valentine party. Maybe there's cookies or cupcakes, or there's balloons or games. Like it's a celebration, and you might have even decorated the classroom, decorated your house, whatever it might be. It's built up to feel good and be positive. And then when I was an adult and I talked to a few people that either they hated it or were totally indifferent, and
Right.
it wasn't a day that they celebrated. It was just a day on the calendar. So I feel
Mhm.
like there's a lot of pressure that's put on people and specifically the guys, and they need to uh, meet some standard because their wife and their friends are going to be comparing. Well, what did you do? What did you get? And they want to like
Raise the
be
bar.
yeah like raise the bar. They want to be respected and also not be measuring the amount of the love that's there and and fall short, right? And
Yeah.
so and then also why just that one day? And I have some people say, and I've actually said this to Kyle, every day's a Valentine's Day with you. Like it's just
Yeah.
there's love. There's always there's always love. It doesn't feel like we need to celebrate it just one day, but it is kind of fun, I think, to put the spotlight on one day. How about you, Cari?
I feel pretty much the same. Because we are, like you said, you grow up with all the classroom little cards, and I feel like I don't think there's pressure, of course, on the boys at that stage. I think all the teachers generally go, okay, you know, everyone gives one to everyone, right? So I don't think it would really kind of start where the men feel that, but I think it flows more into maybe junior high, high school. And I find at that stage of the card giving, they don't really do that anymore at that stage. So then I think it's whether or not you want to partake in it. And again, it always seems to flow back to the men, that they're the ones that have that pressure on them going, okay. And sometimes maybe they're embarrassed to even give something in public too.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to understand that sometimes you have to really look at the type of personality, like if you're with someone, your spouse or whoever, if you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you're doing, you have to look at, one, do they or have they celebrated in the past? You have to look at what types of, I think it goes back to the whole gift giving, the love languages of, do they even like gifts to begin with? And because I'm the same, I feel like maybe the men, I don't mind giving a gift to my boyfriend. I have no problem with that. But if I did it in public, how would he feel? Or if we were back in high school, how would he feel? So that's pressure to begin with. And then, like you said, if there's competition in the workplace, oh, what did you get your wife? What did you get your girlfriend? And they try and outdo each other, which could be funny. But at the same time, someone's doing the whole Hawaiian vacation,
Yeah.
big bouquet of
Proposals.
flowers and proposal, like, so I mean, it can really get out of hand. And then, so that's like, it's a conversation, right? And then you go to thinking about the whole Hallmark holiday, just like you said, it's the gifts, it's the chocolate, it's the flowers, it's this, it's that, it's, and jewelry if you want to do that route, whatever. And I think it's just too much at some point, right? And it should be every single day, I think. Not saying go and buy chocolates every day, but don't
That would be
overdo it.
okay.
But,
Yeah, that would be okay. Yeah, and then
appreciate.
there's the school dances. There's,
Oh,
they
yeah.
get in, like you mentioned, the teens, Cari, how that
Yeah.
it changes from the little classroom parties to becoming school dances. And again, how much of that is on the guys to ask the girl to be, and I'm hearing there is changes. It's been a
Yeah.
couple of years since I was in school, and
Last
or
year.
or had kids in school even. Yeah, and well, I have some, but my kids in school,
Yeah.
and it's just, I think it's changing somewhat. Women, and it's good. We've been working to bring more encouragement to women about using their voices, and step up, like be confident. It doesn't have to be just on the guy. Like, what's the worst? He can say no, or
Yeah.
laugh at you or whatever, I guess. But why can't the girls be the ones to take the initiative and make those connections? So I like
Mhm.
that, we're seeing some changes that way. And it's an awkward time in people's lives when they're teens, but it's almost similar in many ways when, much of my audience around divorce and life changes, it's
Yeah.
people that are now going into maybe a new phase of their life where they're single again, and it feels awkward. How do I
Mm.
how do I get back into that dating scene? Or, should
Yeah.
I be on an app? Or I have kids, is that going to be a problem? Or I have an ex, is that going to be a problem? And it's a whole different scenario. And I like what you mentioned, Cari, to maybe be conscious of asking, is Valentine something that you would like to celebrate, or you have in the past, or you have strong feelings about? Because for some people, they do not want any part of it, or
Yeah.
they're super disappointed if you do not do anything about it because it was maybe not something that was important to you in the past,
Yeah.
and you've missed it, and they feel really sad that, really disappointed that it wasn't celebrated. So I think that
Right. And then you can look
communication.
at, yeah. And then some people have, like you said, if they've had a past relationship and they're now going on to a new relationship, maybe, the past Valentine's days weren't as good. They've had bad
Yeah.
memories attached to that. So then, it becomes sort of like, how do we deal with moving forward and going, okay, do I want to celebrate it with somebody new, or is that going to bring back all the bad memories? Am I going to, are we going to argue that day, or is this going to happen? So I think the pre-conversations leading into those new relationships, I think, are really, really important in that communication. So if if you've brought up, you've been doing it all your life and it's just something that you do, you're probably so used to it. But then if you meet somebody who doesn't do it, you might feel a little left out. So,
Mm-hmm.
so that's
Yeah.
another thing to think about. And okay, so if maybe that other person doesn't do Valentine's, maybe you want to spend it with some family or some friends
Or
instead
your
of that,
kids, or yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because it can be a very difficult conversation if they're like, yeah, no, not for me. Don't
Well, and
do
I
it.
think we also don't want to miss the opportunity, to find out who you are. What
Yeah,
would you, how do you want? Have you thought about it, or are you just going along with the flow that this is expected?
yeah,
And how do you actually feel? Like, what would feel good to celebrate? And that can change year by year. Maybe one year you just would love to spend a day at the spa all by yourself, or maybe with your girlfriends, or maybe you want a romantic dinner, or like,
mhm,
what is your idea of a way that you would like to have? Have you thought about it? Or are you concerned that, well, maybe my wife or husband or whatever wants, they always want to do this, but stop and ask them and say, is this just out of
yeah,
habit and tradition? Or do you want to try something new? Like, let's go take a cooking class together, or let's just have a chill night and cuddle on the couch and watch a movie that we've been talking about
yeah,
wanting to watch. Or
yeah,
do you want to do something huge? Like, why don't we plan a trip or whatever? Talk, like, again, that communication, and don't just go with what you feel others expect of you. And so I
mhm,
really, yeah, I think, I don't know, I'd love to have people weigh in on this. Like, we just had Valentine's. And so, was it a disappointment? Was it great? What did you enjoy? What would you have preferred different? It's still like, it's really fresh on our minds about what happened that day. And so, how can we look at that and take that forward? And we don't have to wait till next Valentine's. Like, I think we just learning what we love is tricky, especially when we're busy, 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 and we don't
yeah,
pause. Like, we've talked in other conversations about celebrating our accomplishments or celebrating who we are.
yeah,
And we don't even know how.
yeah. We just have to buy our own Valentines sometimes.
Yeah.
It
The day after
actually,
there, everything's half price.
I know people that do that. I mean, if you want some extra chocolates, I mean, go for it, right? Do it up. Um, I totally remember walking in Walmart and seeing half off of everything. It was pretty funny, but anyway, I think all it just does also stem down to loving yourself first, right? So if you love yourself, you know what you like, and then you can bring that to a relationship and go, okay, because sometimes maybe whoever you're with can't afford to get you what they want to get you. Maybe you want the dinner or the whatever, and they're like, yeah, no, I can't actually do that. So you have to change plans and you have to shift that mindset of like, okay, just because somebody can't afford it or they didn't get you something that you wanted doesn't mean that they don't love you or they're not showing appreciation. They're just doing it in their own way. And I want to get back to the whole hubbub of the dinners and going out. And I think that's a very stressful thing when it comes to Valentine's because you realize you're going to have to book months in advance to get tables. And people don't think about that.
Yeah. Unless you go to Subway or Rut and Ronnie's or
Boston
something like
pizza.
that. And sometimes that's more romantic because maybe that it's just something fun and relaxed and less pressure.
Yeah. What is your ideal Valentine's Day?
Ooh, I that's a trick. You know, I should have been prepared with an answer for this. I have a
Like I knew it was
variety
coming.
of
Shit.
Valentine. Yeah, geez, yeah, we booked this about 2 months ago. Um, I'm not super fussy because, like I said, I really feel love every day, and
Mhm.
in so many, kindnesses and so many ways like that. But
Yeah.
I think just the recognition. So I flew in. I got home from Mexico at 2 in the morning on Valentine's this year,
Wow.
and that was a trip that I had taken with a friend. And I got home, and there were some flowers waiting for me, some
Oh,
beautiful roses, and just having um, having that time together was really nice. And then off we went on Valentine's Day, and we were uh, off to the city for ringette tournament. So it wasn't like there was time for a romantic kind of evening, but
yeah.
just spending time together. And I think we, what we often do is we'll play cards in the evening or go for a walk and just have chill time. And to me, that is the perfect date. Is just time where my computer is shut down and I can just be really present and
Yeah.
engaged with that person and with Kyle and just enjoy just just some quiet time together is my favorite way, I think. What about you, Cari?
Oh my goodness. I would say I haven't really had a favorite type of Valentine's Day in mind. So this year I was actually dog sitting and I never got to spend Valentine's Day with my boyfriend. So I spent it with a doggo and we had cuddles on the couch and it was lovely. So I was like, and again, um I just stems back to your relationship and what you're doing and what your expectations are. And he actually forgot that it was Valentine's Day. And I was like, I just, I didn't even say anything, whatever, because I knew he was working as well. And it's like a very busy day when you're both working or whatever, right? You're both preoccupied. So it wasn't until bedtime that I got my happy Valentine's Day. And I was like, okay, thanks. Because my boyfriend he's not a huge celebration. Like he doesn't celebrate it. Like, you know, like for me, one year it was like I did the whole roses in the bathroom and nice little tub setup and the romantic setup, if you will. So, because I can go both ways. I will either overdo it and just go hard, or I'll just be like, okay, yeah, let's just sit and watch Netflix and relax
Yeah,
and whatever. It doesn't matter because, again, to me, it's just that quality time of spending it with that person that you love, right? That's how I see it. I don't see it as, and again, to me, going and having, there is no way to have a romantic dinner at a restaurant on Valentine's Day because it's so packed. Like you
yeah,
can't even have a good conversation with the person because you're yelling because
yeah.
it's so busy. So like defeats
I
the whole purpose, I think.
I like what
I
you
don't know.
mentioned about the love languages, Cari, because that is super important. And then that's a conversation to have, even to understand yourself,
Mm,
to, again, back to loving yourself, but
yeah.
understanding yourself. How do you like, what's your top one or two ways that you like to show love, and how do you like to receive it? Because those aren't necessarily the same.
Mm-mm.
And if gifts, if that's an expectation, but that's from the receiver, but it's not necessarily the way that you really like to show love, then
Mhm.
uh, it needs to be openly talked about. It's like if this is
Yeah.
how you feel loved to receive gifts, then that's really important for me to know so that I can do that for that
Yeah.
person, right? And but that they know it doesn't necessarily, it's not my first go-to maybe.
Right.
So yeah, it comes down to, again, to that conversation, but about knowing and loving yourself and appreciating just what love means to you and how you show it.
Yeah.
Because for some
Yeah.
people, like obviously it sounds like we both enjoy quality time, but
Hmm.
that actually doesn't show up as one of my top two, even though I realize it is. I love all the love languages, but gifts is
I
kind of
love
at the
all the
bottom.
love.
Yeah, all the love.
Just saying.
Well, and gifts don't have to
Yeah.
be flowers, chocolates, dinner out, whatever. Gifts is also doing like acts of service is what it's called in the love languages. And to me,
Mhm.
that's a gift, and that's a way of showing love is
Yeah.
an act of service, a kindness. That's something
Yeah.
thoughtful. And to me, that carries a lot more value
Hmm.
than a expensive piece of jewelry. And I mean,
Yeah.
maybe because I'm not a huge, jewelry junkie or anything. It's just, I'd
Hmm.
rather have that person just give me a big hug and say they love something I did around the house, or
Right.
call me beautiful, or whatever it might be, right? That has more value to me than a necklace.
Yeah. Aw. For because people usually like to do flowers. I think that's one of the worst gifts because they just die.
Yeah.
I do. I think, well, okay, the gesture is very beautiful in itself. And it's like, oh, you thought of me and you got that for me. I wouldn't be like, no, that's a horrible gift. But I would make sure that the other person would know, you know, I just look at it a little bit as a bit of a waste of money because then it's just going to die. So as you said, okay, I would prefer that time together. You're making memories together because that's again who I am too. I love to make those memories. And I mean, if the person went out of their way to get me something like jewelry, I know I'm not a big jewelry person either. Like I barely wear anything, although I'm wearing my C I got for Christmas. So I just it's a beautiful gesture in itself, which I think that's what I always look for is just more the gesture, the thought. Oh, I thought about getting you this, but I didn't because I wasn't sure, or instead of going for dinner, how about we just spend time and do this? And I'd be like, okay, I prefer to have that quality time and I'll take hugs any day. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or how about DoorDash or Uber Eats or something like that, or Skip, and then have a nice meal from a restaurant without the reservation
yeah.
and without the noise, and you can just pull up a TV tray and sit in your pajamas and
Well,
hang
wouldn't you
out
dress up?
together. You could dress up at home, yeah,
Dress up with
but you
your
wouldn't
TV
even have,
tray,
yeah.
your ball gown.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
What's the worst Valentine's Day? Maybe not that you've had, unless you've had a really bad Valentine's Day or someone you know. What's the worst that you've ever maybe heard of for Valentine's Day? Whether it's a gift or experience.
I don't know that I've heard of one other than when I've overheard like people just hating it and being so frustrated that it's a bit made such a big deal of, and
Yeah.
that they don't think that's necessary, and that it irritates them, and for some people it's triggering too.
Hmm.
um yeah, I don't know, I mean, for me it wasn't so much Valentine's, but when we talk about gifts, and this isn't news to anybody unless they haven't been following me, but I come from over 30 years of abuse. And in that situation, there would be, gifts, but the intention was, we'll make sure that others notice and see this. And what are they going to think when they see this? And it was like that was
Hmm.
going to negate the abuse. And people would think that, oh, I was so well taken care of because I would have a gift once in a while that was, a piece of jewelry or whatever. And so to me, I'm not, it's not a trigger, but it's kind
Yeah.
of like, it's, it was tainted. And so
Yeah.
I guess, if that could be, I'm sure it happened at
Mhm.
Valentine's as well as other times during the year. So
Yeah.
I haven't, but then, yeah, the surprise of hearing others go, man, I just hate this day. Like it's just irritating and it's all mush and gush and lovey-dovey shit. And it's just like, I went, oh, okay. I hadn't considered that, but I'll be more conscious that
Mhm.
that's not for everybody. They
Yeah.
don't all love it. How about you, Kay?
Oh my goodness. My throat is still dry. I apologize. Hold on. Well, I just came from cleaning, so when there's dust floating around,
Dust.
I get the dry throat. So apologies on my end. I'm the same. Went through the abusive situation, and I remember one anniversary, and it was just like there was tons of gifts with it. It was like a love bombing, gift giving, and I'm the best person ever because I'm giving you and everything and I'm spoiling you. And yet I knew what that boiled down to. And I was like, there's always an attachment to that where you have to perform or you have to fake it or, so when I don't think I don't know. I think sometimes if people give too much, I may ask questions. Not now so much as I did before, probably in the first stages of my separation and stuff like that. So, it's like, what are your intentions here? Or why are you treating me so good? What's your, you know, and so Valentine's Day wasn't, I mean, I got the flowers and we did a cake or whatever and went out for dinner sometimes. And that was fine because it was kind of like everyone else was doing it. So it wasn't necessarily like, too much of a red flag. But again, just, when it was kind of out of the blue and it was like too much, I'm like, yeah, this isn't right. I didn't feel that love and the reciprocation of, thank you for all you do and your hard work. It wasn't like an appreciation. It was like you owe me.
Mhm.
So sometimes, not always, like I said, I will, if I've been given sometimes too much, I'll be like, okay, what do I owe you? Instead of just being more thankful. So it's taken some time over the years. So I want to, now when I, have Valentine's Day, my whole mindset's a little bit different and I really enjoy it because I'm with someone who enjoys it. Not the Valentine's Day, but enjoys my company, enjoys me, and doesn't ask for things in return. So that, like, it changes over time when you're in a different situation, right? Just like you've experienced. So when we go from a really, really, really bad situation to something over time, did it take you some time to get used to some gifts or get used to, like, did you have an issue with that too? Like, how did
I
you
I
deal
did a
with
bit.
that? Yeah.
I did a bit, but I also, like, it made me aware of the conditioning that was there around the abuse, and I knew it was associated just to that person, but
Yeah. Yeah.
also just that awareness and catch myself.
Yeah.
And then, I heard this as well one time, and I totally experienced it myself. You're on edge, wondering not if abuse is going to happen, but when.
Mhm.
And you're just always assuming that there will be a when it's going to happen. And then gradually, you start to trust and go, oh, I don't need to be bracing for that. I don't need to be expecting that there's underlying motives and there's abuse and there's going to be landmines and I'm going to step on one and it's just going
Yeah.
to set them off. It was just such a relief. And, I remember one really strong example of that was an event that we were going to and couldn't find parking and it was a family wedding and um, the rest of us went in and
Mhm.
Kyle's finding parking and he comes in and and the rest had gone, his kids and his mom had gone in for the ceremony, and I waited until he came in, and I'm just like bracing myself for how this is how he's going to react. And he didn't. He was just like, okay, let's go. And in we go. And he was so nice. And
Yeah.
we were late, whatever. He didn't make a big fuss. Like, he likes to be early, if not on time. So that's his
Yeah.
nature. It's not his nature to be late. That's not why he was relaxed. And later that day when we were talking, I thanked him and I said, thank you so much for being so calm and about being late. Like, it was nobody's fault. There were just,
Yeah.
it's a tiny place with no parking.
Yeah.
And he said, well, what else, what other way would there be to react? And I just started crying. My whole body just relaxed and released this. And we were sitting over a lovely dinner, the two of us just on our own, having a nice meal out.
Yeah.
And I just said, no, let me tell you, like, this is not what I would have expected. I fully expected a complete tearing down of my character, a complete, assault on my person, on me as a person, and all, like,
Yeah.
just it ugly, because it happened many times over the years, and it would have just been horrible. And the fact that that didn't happen, that relief was massive. And that's when I realized, huh, there, like, I'm so conditioned to this. I
Right.
expect that there's going to be a reaction of abuse, and then there
Yeah.
wasn't. And yeah, so that's when I started to really notice, because I thought, oh, great, I'm out of this relationship. I've just, I'm free of it now, and there will be no after effects.
Hmm.
But then you start learning that, yes, there are some, and it's going to take a little while to work through them. So yeah.
Yeah. That's when I was just sharing our show on my Facebook. So
Awesome.
those of you who are watching, thank you for tuning in. Because now everybody on my feed can watch it too. um, that's one thing that, as we've been through these situations and then we get with a new partner, that's one of the harder things, right? Is like you expect that same reaction, or even if they do something similar to the other person, you try never to judge and you try to disassociate with that movement or with those words or with the gift giving or with whatever. And you have to go, okay, this is a totally different person. And I too am the same. So when my boyfriend does something that might be similar, but the outcome is different, or he knows like it triggered me in a certain way, then there's like the apology. And then there's no pressure to do whatever or whatever. And the same thing, like we've been down to watching the Flames game, and traffic's just horrible, trying to like get out and whatever. And I'm like, and it's cold outside, whatever. It was that one day we went, I think it was March. It was a couple years ago when we went for the playoffs, right? So it's still a little bit cool outside, but it was like parking was insane. And I'm like, what is he gonna get mad? Like people are cutting us off, and he he does the whole, the F bombs, but no one can hear you, right? But he's not like mad. He's more like, like everyone's being rude or whatever. But it was just like, it was more funny than anything. But, you feel a type of way where you're like, am I going to be a part of this stress? Am I a part of, are they going to blame me because there's traffic? They're going to blame me because we're late. Are we going to, so you think all the blame is going to be put on you, right? And that's a horrible, horrible situation to be in. And, just the same, like you just wait for that reaction, but when it's completely different and you're like, wow, okay, this is good. This is different. I love that, you guys were able to do that too. And it becomes a beautiful situation instead. Then you trust a person a whole lot more and you can let your guard down a little bit more and you can have more open discussions about things like that too, I think. So,
It is important.
yeah,
And again, back to the conversations and having, like, being open about it. So
yeah,
for him to understand, he's like, what is wrong? Like, what, are you okay? What, like, he couldn't understand that
Yeah.
powerful a reaction because he hadn't had a negative reaction,
Yeah.
right? So it's an opportunity to say, look, this is what I expected to happen and it didn't. And I feel such relief because I'm safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, this just to help them understand. And
Hmm.
even for the work that I'm doing around trying to build more awareness about abuse, how prevalent it is, that it isn't always physical, that
Yeah.
there are organizations, there's people who can help um, women and families, men as well,
Yeah.
to get out of these situations. If I am willing to share some of my experiences, and especially with my partner, he can
Yeah.
understand more why I feel so driven to make a
Hmm.
difference in
Yeah.
in the world where I can. I mean, I can't completely eliminate it, but in the meantime, maybe we can just build, help build this awareness
Yeah.
in, and create compassion in communities. So I often talk about how things aren't always as they appear.
Hmm.
And we seem like, yeah, we're all fine, but then something comes up that reminds us of that abuse and the
Yeah.
conditioning that we have, that we expect something, and then we're reacting in a way that people don't quite understand. So
Yeah.
I want communities and families and support people that are out there to just be curious, like, hey,
Hmm.
what's your story, what's going on with you, like, tell me what happened, what has happened to you, and have compassion and
Yeah.
learn about what has gone on. We say, like, you don't know what other people are dealing with.
Yeah. Well, that's, going again back to Valentine's Day, and, you're out in the public and you see the couples together, you see people going for dinner and they're getting gifts or this or that. You just don't know their situation and you think, oh, maybe that's the normal, but they could be in that same situation where, it's a false front. They're going out to celebrate to make it look like everything's fine, but behind closed doors, you got to pay that person back for all those gifts and the dinner, whether it's, abuse or whatever is happening behind the scenes, like you just don't know. So when you think you see a romantic couple, oh, they're off in the corner, they're having a good time, you just don't know sometimes at all. So, yeah. And that's, it goes down to the love bombing and the gifts and the miscommunication, all that. So, even though a first date might be awesome with the Valentine's Day and you're going in and you're getting the flowers and this and that, but you got to be careful sometimes too, right? So, let's talk about first dates and Valentine's Day. Good idea? Bad idea? What are your thoughts? Tough one.
Well, I think yeah, it doesn't always line up. Like, if people have just met and then Valentine's Day happens to be their first date. So, um, I don't know. I think it's an opportunity to use the day and all that's available to make it special. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like you're their Valentine on first date. Like,
Right.
unless you've been, maybe if you've had a long time of communicating and phone calls, and you really feel each other, know each other, and then that's the
Hmm.
first time you ever met, and then in person, and then to go on a Valentine date. But I feel like being someone's Valentine is like that whole,
Kind of creepy in a way.
a little bit more than just a first date. Yeah. What about
Yeah.
you?
I know, I feel the same. It should not be a first date unless, again, maybe I'm not huge on long distance relationships, but let's say, for example, you are in one and you've been dating 6 months and you haven't seen the person yet. Like, you've probably FaceTimed. You've probably had a million conversations over the phone and, you know, you talk about, yeah, let's get together, and they have the long weekend off because this Valentine's was our long weekend, right? It was
Yeah.
right in with family day.
Okay.
So let's say it falls on a long weekend again and it's the perfect lineup, and you're like, yeah, that can be our first date, then perhaps I could foresee that being kind of a cute thing, you know. But yeah, first date right off of a dating app and you're going right in and I don't know. It would be a little bit creepy. Yeah, girl, I don't know. No, I wouldn't do it anyway. I wouldn't, um, because again, you just don't. You at that point on a first date, you don't know. Let's say you get the guy something, and he doesn't get you anything,
Yeah.
and all it is just
Awkward.
dinner, right? You're like,
Yeah.
oh, and would you get a guy on a first Valentine's Day for like that's awkward, right? I got you a piece of gum. Here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really think a first date for Valentine's Day would be good. Um, okay, what are your pet peeves of Valentine's Day?
I think the
I know we sort of
commercialism.
covered a few things here and there, but some really deep
Yeah.
down, like this is the worst thing about Valentine's that just
I mean, it's nice. The commercialism is annoying. It's great that they promote many different options for people to express that love on that day,
yeah.
but I just I don't know. It makes me a little ill the bill to think of billions of dollars being spent on that day. And yeah, it is supposedly in the name of love, but how much of that is just pressure? You know, people are feeling pressure to do something, and I think it should be spread out over the year,
Yeah.
and just have something small that day, and just yeah, try and do more of it during the year.
Hmm. Or surprise the other person and do it on a excuse me, a completely different day.
Yes,
You're like,
yes.
oh, it's March 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. What if you did every 14th of the month, each month is your Valentine's
Aw,
Day?
that's a great idea, Cari.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Whoever heard that, that's mine. Don't take it.
yeah.
Trademark. um, I'm the same. The whole commercialism, yeah, is that how you say it? The Hallmark holidays, if you will, and everybody putting like the price tag on it and overdoing it. Again, just the pressure and just the push and then again the whole I'm going to outdo you mentality instead of, you know, do what's in your heart instead of trying to outdo somebody else where I mean, it would just be so weird just out of the blue if you got like so much stuff and you're not used to it. And you're like, the heck? Oh, yeah, so and so at the office got his wife this, so I wanted to get you that. And it's like, you know, just get me something that is from your heart, not what your buddy from work is doing, right? So I don't like that aspect. And again, the pressure of just the performance of, oh, we had a lovely Valentine's Day. And then another pet peeve is when I mean it's okay, but I feel like people do that on Facebook too, as they, you know, post all the lovey-dovey's, this stuff or whatever. And you know, maybe if it's your first Valentine's Day or something, whatever, but I think sometimes people rub it in other people's faces and you know, have a wonderful day with it for sure, but like don't rub it in, I don't think. That's that's my pet peeve.
Well, then how much of it, again, is it competition, or is it they just love to post that kind of stuff, or what
Yeah,
else is happening in the background that maybe isn't as lovey-dovey as it appears?
yeah. Yeah.
Something
Yeah, if
else
your friend
that
is
is,
used to posting that way, then that's different,
yeah,
right?
and that's just how
Like
they
some
are.
people do, they overshare and or they just do that. That's who they are. But when it's like really kind of weird and you're like, okay.
So for me, I would honestly like it would mean so much more whether like it was from Kyle or from my kids or whatever, my grandkids, is literally like just write a little love note or make a little card or draw a heart in the snowbank outside the window. Like those kind of things,
Get outside
more
with
than
your
buying
ghetto
an,
blaster and
yeah, instead of like an $8 card, you know,
Oh my goodness.
something that somebody they've created themselves. Something I did last year
Mm-hmm.
was, well, this year I sent text messages, but
Yeah.
last year I painted little like postcards for a
Oh,
whole bunch of my friends and painted it with hearts and said Happy Valentine's Day and mailed it to them.
yeah.
And some of them didn't check their mail for about a month later, but it was like a March 14th Valentine. But just
Like when my
something like
birthday
that
card
is
came.
like oh yes, the birthday card. But that was a mail strike. That wasn't because they didn't check because you
I
didn't
had
check
an
your mail.
excuse.
Yeah, you had an excuse. But I think it shows that you were on their mind
Yeah.
and you took the time to make something, mailed it. Like I think there's something about snail mail too that is um, it's extra effort and the thought and
Yeah.
the time that you take to think about somebody. So there's ways to reach out. And again, if you don't have a Valentine, can't you be your own Valentine? Or like, I mean, I had a Valentine, but I had
Yeah.
also wanted to share the love with my gal friends. So I sent all these Galentine things out and just like I'm thinking about you. There's other ways to celebrate than than just the traditional way. And I think when we get
Mm-hmm.
creative about that, I'd love if people could drop comments about that when they're watching the replay or the clips that they offer some ideas for how they have or could celebrate Valentine's or
Yeah.
celebrate themselves in a non-traditional way.
Right. Well, even workplaces, sometimes, staff will give each other, like the boss will leave things for the staff. I remember, oh my goodness, when I first started cleaning for the cleaning company, it was so cute. My boss took me for lunch. We went to, I think I can't remember where it was now. Oh, darn it. Anyway, it was someplace in Cocker and it was this cute little restaurant. Anyway, she gave me this chocolate man. It was like the perfect man, but it was chocolate.
That's perfect.
I was like, she gave me the perfect man for Valentine's Day. It was so cute. And we just went on our lunch break, right? And it was like the two of us and we went and I don't know what the other staff were doing. They were off for the day or whatever it was. But anyway, so it was just a special thing between us because like I didn't really like I wasn't around family too much and like I was kind of in between everything and whatever. So yeah, it totally meant something to me, and I was like, "Oh, that's just, like, the sweetest thing," and it was totally unexpected because I was cleaning, and then she, like, texted me, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come by and pick you up, and we're gonna go for lunch," and I was like, "Oh my goodness." So, yeah, it was really sweet, but just those unexpected things, like, I think those are more special than really, like, the planned stuff. Unless, again, like, you do have reservations at a place and you know you have to go, but I love those little surprises, and it doesn't have to be a huge, huge thing. It can just be, like, a little something, like and it just means, like, they care about you and they were thinking about you, and so yeah, so it doesn't have to just be at home or from girls to your girlfriends or the guys doing their guy thing. It could just even be at work, right? So it just that whole workplace thing too. I don't know. I mean, spread the love, right? I think.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. Don't save it for one day.
no, no. Give me some love every day.
Yeah.
I demand it, right? What other things do you want to touch up on here for Valentine's Day that we didn't go over yet? We did the classroom stuff. We did kind of dates.
Yeah. How you show others, how you show yourself love. Do you love it, hate it,
Some red
indifferent?
flags.
Yeah. I think we
Um,
did it. I think we
yeah,
covered it. And even the
yeah,
shifts that are involved in changing our perspective,
right.
the pressure that we have on each other or the other person. And
Yeah.
also, this might be something I talked
Oh,
about having those conversations,
yeah,
but you know, sometimes you are really looking forward to, maybe they did something special on a birthday or an anniversary or Valentine's or whatever it might be. And
yeah,
so you're anticipating, you're really looking forward to that happening again. And then that day comes and nothing's really happening, and you get all disappointed, but you've never, like, don't be afraid to ask for what you want and just say, are you planning anything special? Because I'm really looking forward to spending Valentine's with you. And maybe then that opens that conversation. Well, what would you like to do? I would love it
Yeah.
if we just, went for a walk and then maybe took a picnic lunch. I mean, not February in Canada, but
No, you
for
can
any
picnic
time.
lunch in
Like,
your living room.
yes, that's true. But instead of getting, like, I learned this the hard way,
Yeah.
for myself. Instead of getting pissed off about being disappointed, why not say that I would love to do something fun? Like, what ideas, or maybe surprise me with something, but let them know that you would enjoy something that day, or let them know I'm really looking forward to just a quiet evening at home with you for Valentine's. Like, let them
Mhm.
know
Yeah.
instead of just waiting and hoping they're going to read your mind, and then you're all pissed off because it doesn't happen.
That's the worst, is expecting someone to read your mind, and you're like waiting and waiting. You're like, oh, okay, I'm sure it's Valentine's Day. They're going to ask me for dinner and I'm going to get flowers and I'm going to get chocolate. And you're expecting this and that. And then it's like, well, shit, like they didn't ask me anything. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. But why do they have to? They don't know. They don't know what you want. And did you even ask the other person what they wanted? Right?
Right?
Right. So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Takes two to tango, as they say. The tango,
Oh,
yeah.
maybe they go out dancing.
What's some good lovey romantic music? We should leave with
Uh,
a playlist.
we could. I have one on Spotify that, let me see my playlist here, that I've built myself. And where is it? It's You Go Girl, and I just have the
Right.
emoji with heart eyes on it.
And
But I
Valentine's should
can
not be the only day that you're intimate people. No.
That's not the only day you put on something
Sexy and
sexy.
satin
And
and
yeah,
lacy and, you know,
fun.
that goes for you, men. Men, same thing. You can't just wear.
Oh man.
What did they have from? No, that's another conversation.
Yeah, that's another conversation for another day.
Right? But yeah, if you guys have,
Again, communication. Like, if you
yeah,
want to see your guy in something, like, let him know. And if he's like, hard no, then that's fine. But at least he
candy
knows.
underwear.
Yeah. Ooh.
Okay, that's another gift of things like just, when it comes to like the sexy gifts, I just, maybe make sure that you've been in a relationship for a little while instead of getting like the candy underwear on the first date, because that might be
Not
very
cool.
awkward.
Yeah. Not cool.
Chocolate
Yeah, I
underwear.
agree. And that's actually another gift idea. So I love
Yeah.
that. And you could get creative. And this is like, this is really sweet because my Valentine, it wasn't Valentine's Day, it was a different occasion, but
Yeah.
was working away, and I had no idea. And he says, "Oh, look here, there's a card for you." And I open the card and it says, "Look here, because there is something I bought for you that I wrapped and hid for you." It was just like, what a sweet surprise. And even though he was, I don't know how many hundreds of miles away, he still had pre-thought and pre-planned this gift, and no pressure on anybody who's listening to do the,
Yeah,
but you
right.
can do that for a loved
Ours
one.
won't
Like, even
apply.
if you can't, yeah, if you can't be together, maybe there's a way that you can mail them
Yeah.
something or ship it from Amazon, or have it set up ahead of time that
Yeah.
they can find this, and it's really, really sweet and romantic.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
It's like a Hallmark movie.
It is. It's so sweet.
Okay. I do love the sappy shows and I do love, I love love. So there's that. But, you know, when it's overdone, it can be a bit too much. But I have to like be in the mood. to watch like the sappy movies. I can't watch them all the time because my go-to movies are like the action movies. I love a good action movie, right? So um yeah, but it's like, oh, okay. So while I'm dog sitting, I was like, I'll watch a couple romantic movies and cuddle with the dog and
Yeah, I don't tend to. I love comedy. That's what I
yeah.
gravitate toward. But I there was a movie. It's called Love
Mm.
Actually. It's an old one,
Oh
and I
yeah.
watched that not that long ago.
Yeah.
So I just watched it on my own and on the
Yeah.
treadmill, pass the
But
time.
don't use those as like a guideline for what you want in life because you have to remember those are just movies. They're not real life situations. So, they're kind of fun to
Yeah.
watch once in a while and be swept away in imagination. And then they have like the big sappy dates and the big, so I think some people get their ideas, right? Some women watch them and they're like, oh, I want my boyfriend to do
Oh,
that or my husband to do that.
yeah.
And then when they don't perform that way, then they're mad.
Yeah, or use that as a springboard for a conversation and just say, no, this is pretty cool. I wonder if, is that something that you'd be open to talking about and maybe we can plan this. So
Right. And the
it
guy's
might
like,
be,
yeah, he wants the flowers and he wants the chocolate. It goes the completely
yeah.
opposite.
I know I've heard guys say like, I
Spoil the
have no
men.
idea why she loves flowers, but I know she loves them. I don't need to
Yeah.
know why. And I just know that it makes her feel really happy and feel loved. And so they just do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful. That's love.
Yeah. Yeah. And going even back to gift giving, if, like you said, acts of service, as Kyle was behind you doing things, that's exactly another way of showing just something is, you've had a hard day at work or you're both having hard days at work and just doing something for another person, taking the load off, really helps. And that's a big gift too, right? And shows that appreciation and says it does say a lot. It does speak out loud when people do things and especially when you're not expecting it. Then you're
Hmm.
like, wow, I really see you and just to say thank you at that moment too, that
Yes.
you see that and you appreciate it and go, hey, thanks for doing that. Or even if it's the next day, say they have made you dinner and then the next day you like maybe send them a text, hey, thanks for making dinner and you're really help me out and I feel good and whatever you want to say and be appreciative because it goes a long way. It
I
really
think
does.
that's the perfect note to end on, Carrie, because
Yeah.
the thank you and the appreciation means so much, whether that's their love language or not. It's just is recognizing the effort and the love that was shared and to say thank you. And like
Mhm.
we say it multiple times a day. Oh, hey, thanks for making the bed. Thanks for doing the dishes. And that
Yeah.
recognition and appreciation. And it goes a long way for it to keep happening, but also that the person feels appreciated.
Yeah. Because I mean, how many times you can do things over and over and over again and you don't even think the other person even recognizes it until they actually say something and then they go, oh, yeah,
Mhm.
thanks for doing that. Because people don't have to. They don't have to do dishes. They don't have to make you dinner. They don't have to do anything. Right. And if they're doing it because they love you and they're just showing that and they don't expect a thank you, but you do that, then that goes a long way. So, yeah,
I love that. This was
perfect.
fun.
It was
I'm
good.
happy we dug into this topic, and we're back in March
March
on the
5th,
5th, is it? Yeah.
March 5th.
And we have a
And
guest
we have a
that's going to be
guest.
joining us. We're going to be talking about spiritual shifts.
Whoa! No, I'm just kidding. Not that kind of spiritual.
No.
No,
Cool.
not at all.
Well, thanks. Thank you to everybody who tunes in and catches the replay and anybody who joined us today. And
Yeah.
definitely drop your thoughts in the comments or, shoot us a message, tag us on social, Shift Happens Show, and let us know, what shifts have you experienced or you would love to see happen
Right.
around these topics. And if you have suggestions for topics and for our show, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you had any interesting Valentine's Day, we want to know as well. And we'll bring that up on the next show because that'll be fun to talk about if you guys throw something in the comments. So that'd be cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, there we have another Shift Happens show in the books. And thank you guys, everyone, for coming in today and joining us. And we'll be back in 2 weeks. So keep shifting, everyone. Shift on.
Bye.